Before we get into today's episode, I've got something free for you. 90% of triathletes are making the same 5 nutrition mistakes that are costing them time on race day. And I don't want that to be you. So I've put together a free audio series called The 5 Biggest Mistakes Costing You Time on Race Day, where you'll learn what they are and most importantly, how to fix them. Grab it now for free at dietitianapproved.com/mistakes and start fueling smarter for your next race today. There is no shortage of bad nutrition advice floating around in triathlon circles. Every week I see athletes get marketed something new, and this month I've seen some absolute shockers. Today I'm going to break a few of them down, tell you why they are terrible advice, and most importantly, what you should be doing instead. When the ABC article on creatine was published, that I was an expert for, they posted it on social media and I had a look at the comments. And honestly, it was the Wild West. There were keyboard warriors everywhere making bold statements with no clue about what they were actually talking about. One guy I got in a quasi-argument with who tried to throw me under the bus saying that I didn't know anything was arguing that creatine is safe and everyone should be taking it regardless. And I had to walk away because I was getting so angry. And it's just not worth it. And this is why the nutrition landscape is just so dangerous. You've got people with zero qualifications dishing out nutrition advice all over the internet, and it sounds convincing, but if you actually follow it, then you're setting yourself up for problems. You're probably wasting a lot of time, wasting money, and at the end of the day, ultimately poor performance. The truth is, though, fueling for triathlon is not that complicated. There is a lot to know, yes, but it's also not the road that most athletes go down or are being sold to. And so that's why I want to call out some of the worst advice I've seen this month. It's going to get a little bit ranty, but also practical because I'll give you some of the tools to help you do it the right way. And if you want to take the shortcut to filtering out fact from fiction and learn how to actually fuel yourself properly for 3 sports, then that is exactly what I love to teach my athletes inside the Triathlon Nutrition Academy program. Our final cohort for 2025 kicks off soon, so make sure you've got your name on the list at dietitianapproved.com/academy. So let's dive into today's episode, starting with some snake oil products that make a big promise around hydration and performance, but on closer inspection are absolutely ridiculous. Welcome to the Triathlon Nutrition Academy podcast, the secret weapon in your ears for triathletes who want to get fitter, faster, stronger, and healthier with evidence-based nutrition. Welcome to episode 206 of the Triathlon Nutrition Academy podcast. I am coming to your ear holes today from the beautiful Mooloolaba up at the Sunshine Coast for Sunny Coast 70.3. I'm here with 20 Triathlon Nutrition Academy athletes, and I'm so excited to be here with those guys, meet them in the flesh, and it is always such a buzz when we get together, not just for the racing, but having the chance to catch up with athletes from all over the world in the flesh. We've got people here from Canada, the US, Taiwan, and all over Australia. They've flown in from all over the world, and I'm looking forward to cheering them on race day. I'm going to do the swim, and then I'll be done in around 30 minutes and get to enjoy the rest of the day while they're out on course. Being around big events like this, there is so much nutrition advice floating around here. I've heard it everywhere so far, like in cafes, at the expos, and I know that it's going to be out there on the race course in transition as we're lining up for the swim start. And some of it is good, but a lot of it just makes me cringe and put my hands over my ears and want to walk away. So I think this week is the perfect time to tackle an episode like this, calling out some of that worst advice that I've seen this month and this month alone. Most months are the same, let's be honest. So let's kick it off with just some snake oil products that promise the world but are way off the mark. One of the ones that I came across this month was a Transdermal electrolyte patch. So it's a sticker that you put on your skin that supposedly helps you to maintain proper hydration for wellness and performance. Sounds fancy, right? And you're like, oh, cool, that is interesting. That might have some merit. So I had to do a little bit of digging into the research to figure out if you could actually absorb electrolytes through the skin. And there is some research showing that under very specific conditions, tiny trace amounts of minerals can pass through the skin barrier. But it's for things like those therapeutic mineral baths where you soak your body for a long time, multiple hours in really high concentrations. If there is damaged or highly hydrated skin that is slightly more permeable, or in a medical setting using special delivery systems like iontophoresis, like electrical currents, microneedles, or chemical barriers that force ions through the skin. So there are particular conditions that will allow this transdermal mineral absorption. Let me run through what they are. You can get a little bit nerdy with me. So high concentration gradients is needed, skin permeability, prolonged exposure, and these assisted delivery systems like iontophoresis. And the thing that I also learnt was that absorption through the skin is local. It's not systemic. So it means the absorbed minerals are going to stay locally, like in that section of the skin, maybe for wound healing, inflammation modulation. It is not systemic, so it's not going through your entire body. There's no evidence that they actually are going to restore electrolyte balance across the whole body in the way that an athlete will need. So that was pretty cool, huh? I learned something looking that up. Now, slapping on a patch and expecting it to replace the liters of fluid and grams of sodium that you're going to lose and sweat in a triathlon is obviously not going to be effective. Your skin is designed to keep things out. It is a barrier. It is not a sponge. So without electricity, solvents, broken skin, electrolytes simply don't get in at levels that are going to matter for us. So summary of that is that relying on applications for significant electrolyte replacement are just not going to be effective, particularly compared to oral consumption. At best, these patches are a placebo or expensive stickers. At worst, they're going to leave you with a false sense of confidence. They will definitely leave you dehydrated because they're not putting any fluid in. And for some people, at serious risk and underperformance on race day. And just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, I stumbled across another beauty, concentrated ocean water. It's sold as a trace mineral solution, $40 for a tiny little bottle. It's marketed as being naturally harvested from the pristine South Australian coast. And, you know, the coastline there is beautiful. The oceans in Australia are beautiful. But it's a pure ionic trace mineral solution made from 100% solar concentrated, sodium reduced ocean water. It is just a poetic, fancy way of saying evaporated seawater. So someone is making a literal killing on taking free ocean water, leaving it out in the sun to evaporate, and putting it into a bottle. They even remove most of the sodium, which is the main electrolyte that we use in sweat and the main one that as a triathlete you need to pay attention to. So what you're left with is a very expensive shot of minerals that are going to do nothing for your performance. And they've got clever marketing, right? The buzzwords of natural, ionic, trace minerals. Somebody shared this with me and they told me that their friend takes it and that's all they need for their electrolyte needs for the day. They don't need anything else. It's all designed to look clever, look scientific, but when it comes to replacing, again, liters of sweat that you're going to lose and the electrolytes that you'll need to replace, this product is going to be completely useless. So what do you need to do instead? Please save your money and don't buy either of those things. Hilarious. Your hydration needs as a triathlete are built specifically around you. It is not something that you can pull from the internet. You need to understand what your sweat rate is, what your sweat sodium concentration is, and what type of athlete you are. What training conditions are you training in, and what is your racing conditions? So for you, you need to actually test what your sweat rate is and then build out a proper hydration plan and practice it in training that includes not only your fluids, but your electrolytes as well. You don't need to replace 100% of losses, but you need to understand how much you need for the particular type of event that you're doing in the environmental conditions and the pace, your body size, your fitness levels. There are so many components that go into understanding your unique hydration needs. And that is absolutely something that I can help you with and something we talk a lot about inside the Triathlon Nutrition Academy program. We don't talk about implementing gimmicks like these two products, other than critically evaluating them together to know whether it's a good thing to do or whether we're going to save our money. All right, rant over on that one. I hope you enjoyed that. Let's move on to something that looks even more scientific, but is just as misleading. And it's those online race calculators that claim to tell you exactly what you need for your event. These tools ask for a couple of basic numbers, like your body weight, your predicted time for whatever it is that you're doing, and then they spit out a figure, a single figure that tells you how many calories you're going to need. Sounds clever, but they don't actually tell you what to do with that number or how to build a race nutrition strategy around that number. All right, triathletes, if you've been thinking about getting your nutrition sorted, now is the time to take some action. We are gearing up for the final Triathlon Nutrition Academy cohort of 2025, and this is your last chance to work with me this year. So if you're keen, make sure you register your interest for our October cohort at dietitianapproved.com/academy. If your name is on that list, you'll get exclusive access to 2 epic early bird bonuses that, trust me, you don't want to miss. So head over to dietitianapproved.com/academy now, click on that big orange button and get your name on the list today. So I put my data into one of these and it told me I needed a certain number of calories to do my Ironman in my predicted time. Now, being the sports dietitian, I know to work out how to take that number and convert it into something that is usable, but this online calculator does not do that. And when I convert those calories into what I need for fuel, it tells me that I need 30 grams of carbs an hour for my Ironman. 30 grams. That is so far off the mark that it is laughable. And what makes me really angry is that triathletes are actually using this kind of advice to build their race nutrition plans. So here's some of the reasons why this is problematic. Firstly, it works on the outdated idea that you only need to replace 25% of the calories that you burn. Endurance performance is not about calorie maths. It's about fueling your body with the right type and amount of carbohydrate. We need to move away from talking about calories. Secondly, these calculators don't translate those calories into actual grams of carbohydrate or usable products. Unless you're a sports dietitian who knows how to convert those numbers and actually make that practical, you are still left guessing and fumbling around the dark and probably doing yourself a disservice by using that in the first place. And then thirdly, they completely ignore all the other critical factors that go into developing your race nutrition plan. Your intensity that you're racing at, your gut tolerance, the weather and environmental conditions, your sweat rate, and what products actually work for you. So athletes are counting up their calories instead of fueling properly. And you'll end up using the wrong products, under-fueling significantly, and or have horrific gut problems and dehydration issues on race day. And to top it all off, the one that I looked at funneled into a triathlon nutrition book written by somebody that has no qualifications in nutrition whatsoever, which honestly makes me furious. This is how you go down the wrong rabbit hole, waste time, waste money, and entire races because you're being sold science that's not actually science. So what's the alternative? What do you need to do? You need to get a personalised race fueling strategy that looks at the whole picture. Wherever you go to get it, doesn't have to be the TNA program, but wherever you go to get it, it needs to take into consideration you and your body, your specific training, your sweat rate, your sweat loss, your gut tolerance, your race demands, your goals. It is not just a single calorie number on a calculator. And then you need to test and refine that in training and build it up over time so that you know exactly what to do on race day. All right, deep breath, rant over. Let's shift gears into another classic piece of advice that's been floating around forever, and that is carb loading myths. And with this one, I want to tie in a real story from one of my Triathlon Nutrition Academy athletes to show you just how badly it can go. So for some reason, the idea still gets passed around that all you need to carb load is to eat a giant bowl of pasta the night before your race. Or worse is that you need to empty your glycogen fuel tank by training hard, cutting carbs, and then smash a heap of food before your race to refill it. One of my TNA athletes, Brent, who's halfway through the program, and you'll hear him on the podcast coming up actually, he learned this the hard way. Before joining the program, his pre-race nutrition was completely off. He laughs at how bad he was doing now that he knows how to do it the right way. He was smashing curries. He was eating really fiber-heavy meals to get lots of nutrients in the days heading into his event. And he thought that was fine because he would just burn it all off on race day. But what was actually happening was he was having huge gut distress, some urgent toilet stops, if you know what I mean, and just a whole lot of pain mid-race. He told me that he was planning his run routes around where the public toilets are because he knew that he would need them. He was cramping and he was just limping to the finish line. Now, this is not the kind of strategy you want going into your biggest race of the season. The problem with these old school carb loading strategies is that they do the opposite of that. Heavy, high fiber meals leave you bloated, uncomfortable, and running for the portaloo, literally. And a one-night pasta party doesn't give your muscles the fuel and the time that it needs to glycogen load effectively. So what's the right way to carb load? It is a science-backed, structured approach spread over the days heading into your event, depending on what distance you're racing. You want strategic carbohydrate intake that is matched to your unique body. It definitely uses low-fiber foods and easily digested foods as well. So think things like rice, white bread, fruit juice, some sports nutrition products potentially, and even some lollies or candy if we need to get you there. That way you're topping up your glycogen stores properly and super compensating them with as much fuel in the tank as possible without destroying your gut in the process. Brent is a great example of how powerful that shift can be because since changing his approach inside the Triathlon Nutrition Academy program, he's been able to run marathons and half marathons without cramping, without gut issues, or that horrible energy crash that happens for him at the end of the race. And he's now hitting PBs because his fueling supports his performance instead of sabotaging it. So if you've ever been told that carb loading is a single meal or that you just need to go crazy in the lead up to your event and everything will be all right, please don't do that. If you get it right, you'll actually enjoy your race rather than just surviving it. So there you have it, 3 of the worst pieces of advice I've seen floating around this month. Some snake oil products that promise hydration with some stick-on patches and bloody expensive seawater. Race calculators that are going to reduce your fueling to some dodgy number that isn't going to serve you in the first place. And old school carb loading myths that can wreck your race before it has even started. This is why I get so fired up about nutrition for triathletes because there is so much noise out there. And without the right education and knowledge, it's almost impossible to know what is fact and what is fiction. And also how to apply all of the random stuff on the internet specifically to you. And that's exactly why I created the Triathlon Nutrition Academy program, to cut through all the noise and the BS and give you practical tools to help you fuel properly for 3 sports. Our final cohort for the year starts soon, so if you're ready to stop guessing and start fueling with confidence, head to dietitianapproved.com/academy and make sure your name is on that list. All right, wish us all luck at Sunny Coast 70.3, and I'll chat to you next week.